Hello, hello. What is up? How are you doing today? Why am I talking in this voice? Oh, I'm sorry you had a stressful day. It's about to get more stressful. good, good times. Good times, baby. Yeah. So I mentioned on Wednesday with my little birthday stream, I want to talk about my experience with depression because hopefully that can be somewhat of a comfort to other people. So today's stream will be probably a little bit rough. It's definitely going to be some rather tense topics, but I'll also make some jokes. Yeah, it's basically just going to be me sitting here. Sorry, I need my blanket. I'm freezing to death. It's gonna be me sitting here and talking with you. Actually, I should go get my water before I start, shouldn't I? It'll be 2 seconds. I need water. I'm gonna die. Okay, I got my water. It was just a question from when you said running. Here we go. And then I need my blankie on my little knees, so my knees don't get cold. Make protocol knees. And then I guess I'll wear my I don't know why I'm bothering to wear headphones. I don't think I'm really playing music or anything. I could play music in the background, but why bother? Yeah, so I have like a rough timeline of events, but the thing with depression is that I was not entirely paying attention, so, any dates or times that I give are gonna be, like, probably off base and confused, because who fucking knows when all of this happened, but, The beginning of our story is in junior high. I was first diagnosed with depression. Nope. In junior year of high school is what I meant to say, not junior high. I was fine in junior high. I was perfectly happy in junior high. I was fucking brilliant. Nothing bad was happening then. It was great. But then in my junior or second year of high school, I suddenly was going through shit. I wasn't sure what was going on at first, and no one in my family was either. I think I just felt like really sad and down all the time, and like anything that was bringing me joy was no longer bringing me joy. Like, I remember an experience that happened far after, but I was like watching a video or something on my phone, and then I laughed, and then I was like, that's the first time I've laughed in months. So that's what was happening to me. The grades started tanking, and the big thing is I started, like, not eating. And it's not an eating disorder because it's not at all tied into my body and my body image. But it's just, like, a symptom of my depression that my eating habits get weird, and I just lost my appetite completely. I remember sitting in front of the pantry door and, like, holding a bag of chips and just crying because I couldn't bring myself to eat them, because I just get so fixated on, like, the physical sensation of eating that I can't force myself to eat anything. And this happens pretty rarely nowadays, thank God, but it happened a lot. And I just focus so much on, like, eating is gross if you think about it too hard, because you chew something up and then there's just a mush in your mouth, and then you have to swallow the mush in your mouth and, like, keep on chewing, and there's just this, like, mass of weirdly textured grossness in your mouth, and then you have to, like, get that down your gullet, and it's gross. Eating is gross. So I like to say that thank you to instant breakfast, little meal replacement drinks, because I would not be alive without them. I probably would have starved to death long ago. You get your little powder and you mix it up in your little, what's it called, milk, and then you can drink it. And drinking is way, way, way preferable to fucking eating. Ooh, eating is horrible. Eating is horrible. But drinking I could usually stand. So whenever I was feeling particularly, like, awful, then I would just have an instant breakfast, and it was great. And I still have that quite often. That's like my breakfast every morning, because I'm always like staying in bed until the last possible second and then getting out of the bed. But you know, I think I am gonna put on some background music. We'll just do Ghost Song again, because that one's chill, and I know it won't copyright strike me. And if it's too quiet, I can hear my own thoughts. Oh God, oh God. Yeah. So I stopped eating, and my parents became increasingly concerned. Specifically, my mom was like, okay, you're not eating, and like you're acting weird, and what is going on? It's incorrect. Maybe we'll put that. Kind of blends in with my body. Here. Idea. Haha! Oh God. There you go. Anyways. So she ended up taking me to the doctor, to the pediatrician specifically, because I was like 16. It was like the last time I ever saw my pediatrician, because then I had to go and get an adult doctor, and I was like, I don't want to get an adult doctor! Are you kidding me? That's terrifying. I've been with this lady for my entire life. I can't move to a new doctor. That's so scary. But I went, and we were just sitting in the appointment, and she was talking to us, and she gave me like the full exam, like listen to my heart and my breathing, and you know, whatever the fucking doctors do. And then she was like, well, you don't really have any physical symptoms, but based on what you're describing, this sounds kind of like depression. And I instantly burst into tears, because that's what it was. And I think I'd heard of depression in terms of other people. Like, I'd heard other people talk about it, but I never thought about it as something that affected me until it obviously did. Affected me pretty fucking hard. And so at that point, I started treatment, and also the grand descent, I guess, started at that point. So this is like the big fuzzy timeline, because I don't really remember when anything was happening, because it's all pretty much a mess. I went to school, and it wasn't great. I started just avoiding everybody, because I had anxiety and depression, and I went to a therapist, and I started a medication. I changed both of those out, and I like the medication and the therapist I'm with a lot better than the ones that I was on then, and I'm glad that worked out for me. And I basically just isolated myself, because I had a lot of anxiety, and I didn't want to be seen as someone who was exhibiting signs of mental illness. Like, that was like a hot poker at that thought of that at any moment. If I was like, someone's gonna see me looking mentally ill, oh God, no, why, I hate it. I could not handle that thought. I hated it so much. It drove me crazy to just even think of that for more than a second. And so I was going through things with that perspective, and like I stopped eating lunch. I used to have a lunch table with friends who I would sit with, and I'd eat my lunch with them, and it was cool. Avoided them. I didn't sit at the lunch table anymore. I would go hide in a classroom that I knew nobody that I knew ate in, and I would sit in the back corner where nobody was sitting, and I would be alone and not talk to anybody and say, okay, cool, I'm all alone and nobody can talk to me. And my grades tanked. The phrase that haunted me and dogged me throughout those years was deserve. That word specifically. Don't deserve good things, do deserve bad things. And that just went on repeat in my head over and over and over, of just like, deserve it, don't deserve it, deserve it, don't deserve it. And I still hate that word. Like, even saying it is, because it had such a hold on me for such a long time. And I just felt this enormous amount of guilt for what seemed like no reason. And now, looking back on it and going back over it in therapy and things, I'm like, okay, there are things that I was feeling guilty for, but they didn't stand out to me at the time. And so, like, I was fully delusional for a minute there. I thought, like, I just felt so guilty that I was like, oh, I was Hitler in a past life. Like, I was a mass murderer in my past life. Like, every time I drove by or saw, like, a psychic place where they were, like, psychics and, like, it's crystal shop and whatever, I was like, oh, I gotta go get, like, a past life reading done. Because I'm sure that I was, like, I was sure that I was a murderer in a past life. And the other thing that I was sure of, like, even before I was, like, fully suicidal, I was sure I was not going to make it through the year. I didn't necessarily think that I was going to kill myself, but I was just like, I have this feeling. I have a premonition. I'm not going to survive through the year. Like, some terrible accident is going to happen to me. I was just sure of that. And obviously it didn't, because it's been like 4 years since then, and I'm still alive. Thank God. But I was just so sure of that. And it seems kind of crazy to just, like, you think you can tell the future, little me? No, you can't. But, you know, that's just how it went. Yeah. Like, I think I was trying to justify to myself, like, because I couldn't confront the reasons that I was feeling guilty, and, like, and to some extent, I knew the reasons I was feeling guilty were, like, nonsense and bullshit, because there was an experience I had with a friend, and and then I was going through, like, leaving my religion, but feeling deeply conflicted about that, because I liked the people who went to the church I was going to, but I did not like the institution of the church I was going to, and so I was, like, really sad about that, and I felt guilty for that, because I was like, if I could just get over it, I could just go to church and ignore all the stuff about church that I don't like and just have a good time there, and it's my fault that I can't just ignore everything. And I also felt guilty for feeling bad. Like, that was the biggest thing that made me feel guilty, because I was convinced there was no reason for it. I never went through any, like, particularly traumatic experiences, and, like, I have been through traumatic experiences. They're just not, like, traditional traumatic experiences. And for a long time, I held that over my own head, because I was like, well, I've never been raped. I don't know anybody who's, like, died. I don't have any, like, dead family members or anything, or friends or anything. And, like, I haven't been through, like, a natural disaster, and I haven't had, like, a serious traumatic injury or anything. Like, I've never even broken a bone. What the fuck do I have to be sad about? I live a great life. I've never gone hungry before, except for the times when I was starving myself, but, like, I had food available. I just didn't want to eat it. So I was intimately aware of, like, the physical pain and torture of hunger. I was just like, it doesn't count because I can't eat food. I'm choosing not to for whatever reason. And I just felt guilty for being sad for no reason. I was like, just pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Get over it. What are you doing? You weak little bitch. So I tried to go I went to school for a while, and I think I finished out my junior year. I probably skipped classes then. Like, I know I did it a lot in senior year, but at that point I had my driver's license, and I had a hand-me-down car for my parents, which, again, like, a hand-me-down car for my parents is pretty sweet. What do you have to be sad about? You're not poor or anything. But, you know, I had things to be sad about. Now I realize that. And I would just take the car and park in a random parking lot where I was, like, pretty sure no one would see me. And I'd just sit in the car and cry. And that's what I would do instead of going to class, is just drive towards school and then park in not the school parking lot because people would see me. And I would just sit in the car and cry and be sad because I was just, no worries. Yeah, this stream is rough. If you don't want to be here for this stream, that's fine. I just wanted to share this story so that hopefully people can, if there is anybody who wants to listen to it, that they can, but not everybody wants to listen to it, and they don't have to. Yeah. There was also a really funny experience that happened in school where I was in my history class, and teacher was very cool and was like, okay, here's your homework for the day. We have like half an hour left in class. If you finish your homework here in class, then you don't have to do it over the weekend. Isn't that great? And so everybody was sitting around and doing their, like, homework, but also, like, kind of chatting and goofing off because, you know, they didn't have to do that homework right that second. And I was like, oh, I'm not going to do that. Because I hate myself and I want to fail the class because I was determined to self-sabotage at every available opportunity. And then some fucking kid who was sitting next to us, so stupid, he was like, why aren't you filling out the answers? And I was like, I'm not gonna do it. I don't wanna. I'm just sitting here and chatting with my friends. Why do you care? And he was like, you're a communist. He was like, this is what communists do. They just profit off the work of others. You're not doing any of the work, and all of these people are gonna do the work, and then you're gonna benefit from the work. And I wasn't gonna turn it in. I would not have turned it in. I was specifically trying to fail every class that I was in at that point. I think this was during senior year, not junior year, but whatever. The timeline is fucky. But he was like, you're a communist. This is what communists do. And I was like, bro, I'm not gonna turn it in. But I couldn't tell him that because I was too terrified to, like, appear mentally ill in front of other people. So I was just like, what? And I was like, I'll do it later on my own. Like, I'm not gonna copy my friend's answers. He was just so determined. I think it might have been, or I might be conflating the two. There was also a kid who, like, we did a unit in our English class, not actually the history class, because every fucking English teacher, she annoyed me, but we read, like, a book with a bunch of first-hand accounts of Hiroshima, and then we had to write an essay about if it was justified to drop multiple nuclear bombs on Japan. And I was reading, I think, the same kid's essay. I don't know if it was the same kid or if it was someone else. And he was like, yeah, I think the Japs deserved it. And I was like, I'm like 90% sure that's a slur, dude. You can't just, like, say that. He was like, I just wrote it for shorthand. And I was like, change it. We were, like, peer reviewing, and I was reading his essay and, like, giving notes and shit. And I was like, you can't say that, dude. Like, also, like, this is a essay. This is, like, supposed to be professional writing. You can't shorten answers for that, and you can't call them Japs. That's not cool. It gives away your point, and it shows your bias really strong. And he, you might not have guessed this, but he was like, yeah, it was totally justified to drop the nuclear bombs. Fuck, of course he did. What else would his opinion be? Oh my god. Fucking racist white boys I had to go to school with. Ugh. So yeah, I was going to school, and it was, like, sort of fine. I think it was, like, towards the end of junior year that I was officially diagnosed and started doing therapy and medications and stuff. Let me check my little notes. Yeah. So there's two other major incidents that happened during school. One of them was all throughout high school, and I think probably in junior high too, although I don't know the club that it was as formal, but our high school had a GSA, Gay Straight Alliance, and I went to the Gay Straight Alliance every time they held meetings. I would go, and I didn't know my sexuality because I was busy thinking about other shit, and then I was busy being depressed. So I was not at all on my mind. My nose is so, like, clogged up right now. It's really annoying. Anyways, so I would just go and I'd be like, hi, I'm so-and-so, and I'm questioning, but I'm an ally. Because I didn't know. I didn't date anybody in high school. I was not doing dates in high school. It was not on my mind. Because, like, one, I was just like, I'm busy. I have, like, singing lessons, and I'm busy writing 1,000,000 novels, and I don't have time. And then I was like, I'm too sad. I can't date anybody in these conditions. I can't live, laugh, love in these conditions. So I was just attending for a while, and I was very, very defensive of queer people in this time period. Like, I think, like, in high school is when I, like, got my own, like, smartphone and got, like, unregulated access to the internet, and I got on Tumblr, and I just, like, educated myself on, like, everything there was, because I love people, and I love humanity, and I just love learning about all the different experiences there are, and that's a big part of the experiences that people have, is their sexuality and their gender identity, and I just was so interested in that, and I sucked in every bit of information that I could, because I loved learning about it, and I still love learning about, like, the different experiences that people have. I think it's so cool. But I was a big supporter of gay people, and I was part of the Mormon church, which is not a big supporter of gay people. And I think it was like right around the time that gay marriage was passed. Like, this happened during my whole fucking journey, is gay marriage was passed. And we, like, as part of our, like, group activities, we, like, gathered in some rich person's house, and we sat around and watched a talk on the television. And they talked about, kids, if you want to convert to the church and your parents happen to be gay, you can still convert. You just have to disown your parents first and disavow them and never talk to them again. And I remember sitting there and I, like, turned to my friend who was also, like, questioning of the church, and I was like, this is bullshit. I can't do this anymore. Like, something like that. And, like, that was the cincher. Like, for a while I had been falling away from the church, but, like, that talk and that, like, just foul declaration of, like, fuck your parents, like, these people who loved you and raised you for years, you have to tell them to go fuck themselves in order to join our church. It sucks. Like, yeah, and obviously, like, who would they choose? But it broke my heart even more, because I was like, they're never gonna accept gay people in the Mormon church. And, like, as much as I can like the people there, and as much as I can think that they are rad and all of that, like, I can't go to a place where institutionally this part of me and this part of the world that I love is being denied. It felt like I was being torn in half a lot, because I would go to church and, like, I was lying to one of them. Whatever I was doing, I was lying to one of them. If I was going to church, then I was lying about supporting gay people, and while I was in church, and if I was not, and if I was, like, if I was hanging out with gay people and I was still going to church, then I was being mean to those gay people because I was still supporting an institution that hated them and wanted them gone. And it tore me apart, and I hated it so much. And my one coping mechanism during this time period, because my thoughts were so dark and overwhelming and omnipresent, my one coping mechanism was distraction. I would just constantly be looking at things, reading things, watching things, looking at memes, whatever I could get, playing games on my phone, like, whatever I could get to distract me, to think about something else that would keep me from the constant thoughts of guilt and self-harm, etc., etc. And the problem was, my mom wanted me to go to sacrament meeting, and sacrament meeting is where you sit quietly and you pay attention to talks that I didn't care to hear. So I would be sitting there, not listening, just in my own head, thinking about all of the awful shit that was in my own head. And it was the worst. Like, sacrament meeting made me so suicidal. Like, I walked out once with full intent to leave the building, walk down the street, go to the pool, which I knew how to get into. It wasn't locked. It had a very flimsy plastic fence. And I'd been shown by an adult and a mentor. They were like, oh, you could get in the pool easy. Like, it's a community pool in, like, a community. And they're like, oh, just bend it and you can get the latch past. You don't have to unlock it. And I was going to go to the pool, and I was going to sit in the pool, put my head underwater, and freak out, take a breath, freak out, force myself to take another breath until I could not anymore. That, for a long time, was my plan. I haven't gone swimming in 4 years. I recently got rid of my swimsuit because I didn't need it anymore. Because I haven't gone swimming, and I think I'm probably fine, and I probably could, but I also realized, like, I don't like swimming. It's just annoying to get wet, and then to take off wet clothes, which stick to you so badly, and to get dried off and get in dry clothes. It's just annoying, and I don't want to do it. And I have a great excuse because I'm traumatized. But for a while, yeah, I was, like, legitimately, like, I can't go swimming, I can't get in the water because it is too much. But the other main event that happened to me during school that made me feel so guilty was, I had a friend, I'm going to try really hard not to say the name because she doesn't fucking give me permission to do that or whatever. But I was very close friends with someone, and we hung out all the time, and she and her whole family pretty much had ADHD, like diagnosed, like it was genetic. They all had ADHD, and I wanted to hang out with her one weekend, and she was like, I can't, my mom said I have to clean my room, or else, like, I can't hang out. And I was like, that's not fair, because she had a really hard time cleaning, because she was ADHD, and she was very distractible. And I was like, well, I want to hang out this weekend. Let me come clean your room, because I don't mind. Like, I like cleaning up other people's shit. Cleaning is a nice, relaxing activity for me. I don't mind it. And I was like, I'll come clean your room, and then you can hang out with me. And it was like, I was like, don't tell your mom and I'll come clean your room and it'll be fine. But her mom, like, wanted her to clean their room as a punishment. And at, like, 10 at night or something, like, her mom checked her messages and saw this and got pissed at me. And I thought I was being reasonable, and I still think I was being reasonable. And her mom said that I was a bad influence. And that really affected me, because that was like my worst nightmare at the time, to be a bad influence, because I wanted to be a good influence really badly. I wanted to influence my friends in a positive way. I wanted to encourage them to better themselves and all of that. And that's what I felt like I was doing for my friend, because I still kind of see the behavior that her mom exhibited as a little bit abusive. And maybe not like, full physical abuse or whatever, but the rules were very strict. And also her mom had a tracker on her phone, which I think is gross to have, and to actively watch a tracker on someone's phone. That is, like, that's a red flag for abuse for me. And I was like, that's not okay that she's tracking you, but, And I found that out because I was giving my friend a ride home once, and I accidentally went on the freeway because I was a new driver, and I was like, oh, it's this road, right? And then I was like, this is the freeway on ramp. So then we were like 10 minutes away, because I was like, I gotta get up the next exit, oh my God. And then I was like, I'm so sorry, I'll get you home in just a second. And then her mom called and said, hey, what are you doing over here? And I was like, what the fuck? Why does your mom know where we are? Because she has a tracker on the phone. And then the mom tried to direct me back to, like, them, and I was like, I'm sorry, but, like, I have a really hard time taking directions, and I'm just gonna put it into Google Maps and use that to get home. And her mom was like, she complimented me for that a few days later, and was like, that was very cool of you to stand up for yourself. I was impressed by that. And I was like, I'm cool. An adult thinks I'm cool. I need validation. Because I'm a kid. And then to have that. And, like, I also remember there was a couple times where I was riding home with my friend, and her mom would call, yelling and screaming. And my friend would just be saying, in tears, saying, I'm sorry, over and over again. And her mom was like, apology's not good enough. And it just sucked, because I couldn't do anything. I just wanted to reach over and snatch the phone and be like, what the fuck is wrong with you? You don't yell at people. She's saying sorry. What more do you expect her to do? Like, what is she supposed to do? If saying sorry isn't enough, then what is she supposed to do? Because this is not okay, and it's not productive. Like, what do you expect this person to do in this situation? There's nothing she can do. You bitch! Leave her alone. She's my friend, and I care about her. And after the incident where I was like, I'll come clean your room so we can hang out this weekend. And then mom was like, no, you can't do that. And I was like, it affects me too if she can't hang out this weekend, because I want to hang out with her. So if I can provide a solution to the problem of a friend can't hang out this weekend by helping to clean her room, then I don't see why it's a bad thing. And mom was like, yeah. But her mom forbid us from hanging out outside of school. And we were still technically allowed to hang out during school, but we didn't. I didn't. because it was like the final straw, and at that point I was, apart from everybody I was friends with at the time. And I completely self-isolated. And I think those are the religion thing and the, like, I'm a bad influence on my friends, which is the worst nightmare. Because I was like, I know my friends are going through hard shit, and I wanted to help them so badly, and I wanted to be helpful to them so badly, that being a bad influence was just the worst. So then we had, school was over, and we had the summer of vacations. We had a lot of vacations, and we had a lot of shit planned that summer. The big one was a trip to Seattle and Vancouver, which was very cool. And I had, I have some notebooks that I found, and I'm not going to share everything of them, because some of them have, like, names of people who I don't know, really, who were in the suicide ward with me. So these notebooks will come up later. But one of the notes in there was, I wish every part of the Seattle and Vancouver trip wasn't tainted for me, because every part of it was awful for me, and every part of it was just infected with this sadness. I forget what that was. Oh, it was somewhere in there. Yeah, I hate that every moment of our Seattle/Vancouver vacation is tainted for me. Every memory, I was depressed. Every second of the day, I felt awful. Yeah. And it was a tough time, that vacation. I basically just avoided doing anything that I could. Like, my parents went on a bike ride, and I stayed home and laid in the bed of the Airbnb and was on my phone, and they would go out and do things. And we went to the famous fish market, and there was a moment of happiness there. But it was only a moment, because everything was just attacked by this cloud, because I was away from my comfort zone at my home, and I was away from any friends that I still held on to, and it was my first time trying to take a medication, and I wasn't taking it very regularly because I'd never taken a medication before, and so I was missing my meds and not taking them properly at the right times and stuff. So that was bad. And that vacation was pretty bad, but it wasn't the worst one. The second one that we had was an event for me, which was Teen Author Boot Camp. Up until this point, I've been a writer, and that's the thing I was. That was the one way I defined myself, is I am a writer. I write books. I did NaNoWriMo at National Novel Writing Month like 3 times successfully, like 50,000 words in a month. I did that. That's all I did all day. That's what I was busy thinking about instead of dating or whatever in high school. I was like, I want to write about my fictional characters and not talk to anybody. It was great. And so I did that. And then I was depressed and I couldn't write anymore. And it sucked ass. My inner critic suddenly turned into a raging demon that I could not shut up and could not ignore, and I couldn't write anymore. And here comes this event that I'd been to in the past and that I already bought tickets for last year when I wasn't feeling this way. And I had to go. Fucking no. I was sick to my stomach. I wanted to stay in bed. I wanted to sleep all day. I didn't want to move. And my dad said, no, come on, we'll just go, and once you're there, you'll like it. Once you're there, you'll enjoy it. And he finally convinced me to go, and I still don't know what was the right decision there. Because I don't know that I had a really positive experience there, but we went anyways, and it was bad because they changed the location from the last year, so we went to the place that we gone last year, and they were like, oh, it's not here anymore. They moved to a bigger convention center because the conference has grown. And so then I was like, we have to go home. I'm in tears, like, the whole day. Like, I was misty-eyed, like, 24/7 throughout all of this shit. And so we went and arrived, like, halfway through the opening ceremonies. And I was like, we should have just given up and gone home. We went to the wrong place, and it's a sign that this is supposed to be happening. And then I should have just stayed home. And then I should never leave my bed again. But we went anyways, and we got there halfway through the ceremony, and they have a tradition that they do every year where they're like, okay, raise your hand if you finished doing a novel. Writing a novel. And my dad was like, come on, put your hand up. Okay, keep your hand up if you've done 2, 3, 4, 5, more than 10. And, like, I'd done, like, 5-ish at that point. I don't remember the exact number. But it was, like, me and, like, maybe 20 other people in the room who had done, like, 4 whole novels. Of a room of, like, hundreds and hundreds. And that was pretty cool. And yeah, I was pretty miserable that whole time, and I remember I didn't want to sit in the room where everybody was having lunch. I went and sat out in the hall, because they had, like, a live band playing, and, like, the music was bothering me for reasons. But towards the end, the other tradition that they have is that every year they have a first chapter contest where you can enter the first chapter of whatever you're writing, and there will be 3, like, first, second, and third place, and then there will be 10 runners up. And the actual prize, besides, like, they'll give you a medal if you're, like, a winner or whatever, or, like, a little plaque, the actual prize is that all of the authors, published authors, who are organizing this conference, who are sitting, like, on the panels and stuff, they will give you critiques. They'll give you, like, your critique on your first chapter, which is enormously useful to have someone who knows what they're doing, who's been in the business, give you a critique so that you can go through it and figure out, you know, like, what can I improve? What can I work on? That was such a good prize. Just that, to have, like, these people read it and thought about it and gave you their thoughts on it was amazing. And I had submitted to the first chapter contest, again, like, a year ago when I didn't feel so shit. And I just remember the feeling so vividly of, I was sitting in my seat, and they would read the first couple sentences, and then they would say the name of whoever wrote it. And I was just in my head, and I was like, you didn't win, you didn't win, you didn't win. Don't you dare get your hopes up. Don't you dare get your hopes up. And I spent, as they went through first place and second place and third place and a runner-up, I just spent that whole time convincing myself that it was impossible for me to win. And they read the sentences of the next one. And then they said my name. And I perked up, as one does when they say your name, and I just was stunned. I gotten runner-up. I was one of the runners-up. And it's not the highest prize, but, like, I'd entered 2 years previously, and there's, like, over 100 entrants every time, and I gotten runner-up. And I walked up to the stage, and they handed me a little plaque that said, like, TABC 20 whatever, runner-up of the first chapter contest. And I got my little packet that had all of the wonderful critiques, like a little paragraph from, like, 10 people who had each read it, and written a little bit about what they thought. And I think I still, like, didn't believe that I had won, because I just spent, like, 15 minutes at that point, like, systematically trying to convince myself that it wasn't possible. I did that a lot, of trying to think of what was and wasn't possible, and trying to convince myself of what was and wasn't possible. Yeah. So then, oh, right. There's one more fun story for me to share, actually, before we get to the real heavy shit. It's kind of fun, it is kind of, but one of my favorite stories to tell is while we were on our vacation, me and my parents, to Seattle, Vancouver. We were about to get on a ferry, and we were sort of waiting around, and I looked in the window of one of the shops that was next to us, and I was like, oh, they have cookies and cream ice cream in there. I want cookies and cream ice cream. And I was like, Mom, Dad, can we go get ice cream? And they looked in the shop, and they're like, the ice cream is, like, peeling away from the things, and, like, there's nobody else in there, and it looks kind of nasty, and they're like, listen, we're gonna go get gelato later, okay? We'll go get you gelato later, but, like, that ice cream looks nasty, let's not get it. And then, at 17 years old, I cried because my parents wouldn't buy me ice cream. 17 years old, parents wouldn't buy me ice cream. Full breakdown. We went on the ferry. I sat inside the ferry. I did not go on the deck and look out at the view and whatever. I sat in the belly of the boat where the wind couldn't get me, and I sat there crying for, like, the next hour as we went on our ferry ride. Because my parents wouldn't buy me fucking ice cream. Which is objectively ridiculous! It's ridiculous. It's delusional. It's so silly. And that's the thing, is it was about something bigger. Thank you very much for saying that, because you're right. It was about something bigger. Do I not have chat up also? I don't think I have chat on this screen. Hello? Where is it? It wasn't on here. Rude. There, now chat's on there. Sorry. Working question mark? No. You know working? Fuck you. Hello? Oh, this one works. Wah. No, none of it works. Fuck me, my chat is broken. Chat no on screen. I'm annoyed. Anyways, it was about something deeper, is the twist. The twist that everybody saw coming. I took it as my parents don't understand what I want, and they don't trust that I know what I want. They're like, oh no, you don't want, like, shitty ice cream. We'll get you better ice cream later. And I was like, no, you don't understand. I do want the shitty ice cream. And, like, gelato doesn't have cookies and cream flavor. Don't you understand that? And it was a whole thing. In my head, I worked it up into a whole thing. Because, of course I did. And it just drove me insane a little bit. But, you know, it was still silly. Even though it wasn't. Yeah. So then, we had our next vacation. And our next vacation was to Lake Powell. And this is a vacation that we took every single year. We had a houseboat with some family friends of my parents. They would go on a houseboat. We, like, partially owned it. We had it from, like, this month to this month. And every year we would pack up all our stuff, put it on a houseboat, and then we'd be on the lake for a week about. And, you know, all the parents were in charge of cooking stuff and all of that. And I knew from the beginning that it was going to be bad because there's no internet. I had data on my phone, but you don't get service out on the lake. And Seattle and Vancouver was kind of bad because when we were in another country, my phone didn't work. Unless I was using the internet, which luckily we had in most of the houses that we were staying in. But you don't have that. You don't have that when you're in the middle of a lake. And I didn't really know anybody else there. I mean, I wasn't with a group of my peers. Everybody was either older or younger than me. And it's still not showing up. I'm annoyed by the chat. I'll have to figure out why that's not working later. Whatever. I'm ignoring it. My brother was with us on the trip, but he was hanging out with the boys who were more his age, and everybody else was older than me. They were adults. They all had jobs. They were the kids of my parents, or my parents' family friends, but I didn't really know them that well, and they were all older, and I couldn't really relate to them, and I was isolated. I was so isolated. I was very alone, and it got worse and worse as the trip went on, and towards the end, like I think within 3 days of getting back to land, one thing that we did is we slept on the roof of the houseboat where there was a rain cover, and we would just set up sleeping bags and mattresses, like camp mattresses on the ground, and we would just sleep up there under the stars. And for hours and hours, I laid on my back, and I thought through every step of what would happen if I killed myself. And I thought, okay, so ship change? Nah, I'll just be in my pajamas, and I'll walk down, and I'll be quiet. I won't wear a life vest. I'll walk into the water, and I'll stick my head under, and I can shiver because it's cold and whatever, and I'll steel myself, and I'll do what it takes to force myself to stick my head under and take a breath and freak out from the pain and this fear. And whenever I can manage it, I'll take a breath again until I'm not breathing anymore. And then what will happen? Well, eventually it will be morning, and everybody who likes to ski will go out really early in the morning. They always go out early in the morning. And I don't know if they'll check on me. The people who go skiing probably won't check on me. They'll probably leave me to sleep because I'm a teenager and they don't care about me. And they don't think I want to go skiing anyways because I usually don't. And so they'll go out, and then probably my mom will wake up at some point. And they'll have breakfast, and maybe she'll leave me asleep, and maybe she'll come to wake me up, and then she'll probably come to wake me up eventually. And if she comes to wake me up while the skiers are still out, she'll think, oh, okay, Rosa's probably with the skiers. That's okay. I'll wait for the skiers to come back, and then they'll come back, and then I still won't be there. And then they'll search for me, and I don't know if they'll find my body or not. Maybe it'll be under the houseboat. Maybe it'll be swept away. Maybe it'll be getting chewed on by fish. But it doesn't really matter. And then what? And then they'll have a funeral. And then they'll be sad. And for a couple months they'll be sad, but then they'll get over it. Cause I don't really matter. And I'm sure they care, but like, how much can you care for me? For garbage little me? They don't care. They'll get over it. And they'll be sad for a minute. And then they'll move on. With my brother, who's better than me. And I don't resent him for that, but it's just facts. He's not sad like me. He's doing great in school. He has the same hobbies as my dad. My parents relate to him. He'll probably go on a mission. He's probably still into the church. He's not gay, like I was discovering I was. He's not going to disappoint them, walking down the aisle to get married to some woman. And I thought through this over and over. Every single detail. And I was lucky because before I left for the trip, I had one friend online that I made a promise to. And I said, I will come back from this trip. And the day I get home, I'm allowed to kill myself, but I will not die at Lake Powell. Even though I'm surrounded by water, my preferred method, even though I'm isolated from everyone and I can't talk to anyone and I can't even go on the internet and distract myself, I downloaded pastel pictures and funny memes and music to listen to. I fell asleep once just playing, I think, 2048 on my phone and listening to the song Heart by Cherub over and over again. And I promised that I would not die on that trip. The day I got home, sure, I could kill myself, but not on that trip. Because I promised. And after hours of laying there with on my back, tears running down the sides of my face, it's uncomfortable to cry when you're laying on your back. I got up and I walked down the little narrow staircase and I did not turn around. I did not look at the water. I did not turn around and look at the water. And I walked over to my little cubby where all my things were stored and I got out a pen. I got out a pen and I wrote on the back of my hand, "You promised." And there were some other people who were still awake. I didn't think there would be anyone still awake. It was probably like 1 a.m. or something, but they're playing card games around the table, and I sat in the corner with my pen and a notebook and crying. And I didn't talk with them. They were like, "Oh, hi," and I like waved back, but I was nonverbal at that point. Like I didn't say anything, and I just sat there and until I felt stable. And then I went back upstairs and I went to sleep. And like the next day, they took the speedboat out to visit like a convenience store on the water to get gas or something and supplies. And very kindly, my aunt, who was driving the speedboat, and a couple of other people to help lift the gas, allowed me to come because they knew I'd been upset. And it was close enough that I got a phone signal, close enough to the edge of the lake, to civilization. And I texted my friend what had happened, and I said I promised, and I kept my promise. And the morning after that night, my mom saw my hand, and she like took my hand and she was like, "What is this?" Panicked and scared because she probably knew that it had something to do with her suicidal daughter. But I snatched my hand back and I said, "None of your business," because I kind of hated her at that point. And I think my main frustration with my parents was that they weren't educated. They didn't know what to do. They tried their best to help me, but they didn't know what they were doing. And I don't hold that over their heads anymore, because it's not their fault. I was the first depressed person they had met so personally. I'm the oldest kid. They didn't know that this would happen. They didn't know how to react. They tried their best. They tried to educate themselves. They just didn't know what they were doing. And that's, the struggle of every parent. But I was kind of incensed that she had noticed, that she dared comment on it, because it wasn't for her. She wasn't the one that I made the promise with. It didn't. Even though it does, and this isn't a logical thought, it didn't matter to her what I was going through. So we came back from that, and I went back to school for a couple months, and it sucked. I was on a reduced schedule. I was taking like 3 classes, only the things that were absolutely required to graduate. I still almost didn't graduate. And then sometime in December, I didn't think I could keep myself safe. And it had been presented as an option from my therapist that, well, they have a nice suicide ward and you can go and stay in the hospital. And we went for an interview, and I didn't think it would happen that day, but it did. And we talked to a nice intake lady. They took us past the construction that was going on in the hospital, and they said, okay, well, how are you feeling, and do you have a plan? And obviously I did. I was going to go to the pool, and do you think you can keep yourself safe? And I didn't. And they said, okay, we'll take you upstairs, and we'll go through the intake process. And they did. So I went to the suicide ward for, I don't know how long, probably at least 3 weeks, probably a month. I think there's rumors about, I think movies depict it unfairly. It was really nice. It was what I needed. It was very helpful to me. Like, I probably wasn't able to keep myself safe. I probably would be dead at this point if I hadn't gone to the ward. And so I guess this is where the notebooks and stuff come in, but I have a notebook. Ward, W-A-R-D is what I meant, not online, not board. I was staying in the hospital in a lockup. They had, like, locked doors, and they had really strong restrictions on what you could and couldn't have there. Like, you couldn't have, like, spaghetti strap tank tops because they could technically be used. You couldn't have shoes with laces because they could be used to make a noose. And you couldn't have, like, wires on your notebooks because you could take that out and use that to self-harm. And other things too, but I don't know how much of my own handwriting I'll be able to read because it's kind of bad. But day one, I feel calm and happy. I've been bubbly today, and there are some friendly people. No touching allowed, no sharing of personal information. We had to sign like a HIPAA form or something because the other people in there didn't consent to have their personal medical information shared. Even though we were in there together, they didn't want people on the outside to know, like, who exactly was in there and stuff. Have to wear scrub for the first 24 hours before you get your clothes back. No phones allowed. Contacts must be authorized by a parent. There's separate rooms. I have a roommate, though I think she's leaving tomorrow. A little shaky, not cold. It's a little nerve-wracking, but mostly okay. Sad to be cut off. Don't want my friends to worry. I want to tell Newt. I wrote your name in here quite a bit if you're still there, bud. I feel like I don't deserve to be here. I'm not a very serious patient. I haven't actually done anything. No scars. I'm having an okay time, even with the down period. Gotta keep telling myself it's not true, it's not true. The way I was convinced that just, like, I don't deserve it. There's people who deserve it more. There's people who've been through worse that deserve it more. And I'm taking up resources, I'm taking up air in this world that I don't deserve. That is prevalent. I got a wristband and scrubs. Mom is bringing my stuff for tonight. Might not get it immediately, since it's my first night, but oh well. Worried I'll get bored, but there seems to be a fairly constant stream of activity. Wonder how much I'm gonna cry. I'm mostly rereading. I'm reading all the stuff in my notebook because I don't want to get bored. There's actually a lot of laughter. And lots of people downstairs. It seems really nice. I'm exhausted and it's 9:20. Dinner was yummy. Very ready for bed, which is good because I'll probably pass out real quick. Don't deserve to be here. I'm not fucked up enough. Smiley face. Headache. Short panics are annoying and hurt my hand. Oh, short pencils are annoying and hurt my hand. They gave me a short little pencil to write in my notebook. Like one of those mini golf pencils, and I was annoyed at it. I act different when my mom is in the room with me. More fake happy and laughter at everything. It definitely follows the way she acts. Showers have a very sensitive on button and a borderline unresponsive off button. Wasn't awake for long before someone came around telling me breakfast was soon, which was nice. I need to stop doing this stupid bullshit where I find one person and talk to them for 50 hours and feel jealous when other people get to spend time with them and I don't. I'm just a boring sack of shit. Everyone says I'm so happy and cheerful and so full of hope, but guess what? I'm actually just hiding my absolute something really harsh. I can't read it even. I am a snotty, gross, wet tissue, full of snot and tears and disgusting human juices. I had family therapy. My honest opinion is that if my mom was dead, the majority of my problems in my life would be solved. I don't think that. I'm sorry, Mom. I love you now. You were making me go to church, and that was really triggering at the time. Thanks for not making me go to church anymore. Anyways, top tips for anybody who wants to stop going to church. Go to the suicide ward and tell your parents from there, I'm not going to church anymore. Because then they can't fucking deny that. Because they're like, oh, you went to the suicide ward because church? Okay, no longer making you go. I don't think I realized how bad it was for me at the time. Every time I try to explain myself and when I think I did a really good job of articulating the issue, she doesn't understand. Mom doesn't understand. Whenever I have the thought, man, that was a good way of putting it, she'll get upset and say that I make no sense. And that was how it felt. I think some of that was probably because I was so, like, deluded and in my own head that, like, the stuff I was saying didn't make sense from an outside perspective. But I thought it made sense, and I was like, well, you should hate me for this and this and this reason. And my mom would be like, how could I ever hate you? This doesn't make any sense. But I'd be like, but I'm being logical. I'm bad and awful for this and this and this reason. Why don't you hate me? And, like, that didn't make sense, but it made sense to me, and I thought I was being really logical. I think it was probably a lot of that. Day 5. Restless and bored. Don't want to color or draw or write. I wish everyone else would come back so I can talk and be entertained. I want to be home and not read a book my mom gave me. I don't know if it was... I have, like, an anxiety workbook for teens. I don't know if that's the one my mom gave me or if it was something else that was, like, awful on the nose. And then I was like, I don't want to read that. Really, really, really wish it didn't exist in my life. Fuck. Dad told me today that he's an atheist. He just goes to church to appease Mom. It's comforting somehow. I really trust him a lot more than I can trust Mom. That really hit me when my dad told me that, because... yeah, secret atheist dad. Because that's the way I was feeling, that I was like, I'm just doing this to appease Mom, and he was like, I am too. And it's okay. To have someone that I, like, cared about and looked up to tell me that it was okay for me to feel... to not believe in God, I guess. I think this is 5 nights and it's infinitely harder to keep myself together. Surely I had the opportunity to be a depressed little shit earlier today. And then little music notes. I hate myself. Oh, I hate myself. It would be nice if a vampire came up and took a big juicy bite out of my neck. I was also writing a lot of really gory shit during this time period. Like, I don't know if they're all in, like, this notebook or something and stuff, but just, like, every, like, awful scenario I could think of, I would just write in, like, excruciating detail, because I think it was helpful for me to have the, like, I was feeling so much internal pain, and it didn't show up on the outside, and I needed some way to show how I was feeling in, like, a physical way. Like, I wished that the pain I was feeling on the inside would show on the outside. Like, I wanted to be going through, like, having my limbs fully torn off, because that's how I felt. That was my emotional state, but my physical state was fine. And so I would write these things because I was like, I'm in so much emotional pain. I need to be in physical pain to, like, show how much emotional pain I'm in. And I think also a form of venting, yeah. Hit half the burger I was served for dinner. Appetite seems to be down. Period. Fantastic. Period. My sadness doesn't last for weeks anymore, so I must be cured, right? Except I still want to die. No more bad can happen if I die. Being ignored makes me feel worse. If no one can ignore me, I won't feel worse. If I'm invisible and alone, then at least I'm not invisible. Day 6. No one will believe me when I tell them that I'm actually a piece of shit. They're quick to compliment and insist that it's not true. I constructed myself every facet and mannerism. I'm not real. Maybe that's why nobody can see me. Tomorrow's theme is self-esteem. I want to be something again and spend every second in my room. And here's where the text is darker because I'm pressing my pencil into the page so hard. I'm selfish. People hate seeing me sad. Selfish. If you're such a good actor, then fucking do it. Do it and use it for good once in your goddamn life. Spent as much time as I could in my room, hiding and by myself. Suicidal thoughts are an 8 out of 10. Depression is 8 out of 10. Thought of a lot of stupid schemes to really just injure myself. And then on the last page of this notebook is basically a will. Cool. I don't want to be buried. I want to be dust, and then I want to be forgotten. Give my things to those who need it most. Try to feel out who each object belongs to. My clothes would fit nicely at a donation facility. They wouldn't fit most trans youth, but it's a nice thought. I cared so much. That's the other thing that stands out, is that I just cared so much about everyone. Sorry for the hole in the paint under the Dumbledore quote. I accidentally ripped a hole in the wall, and all the peeling paint caused by my wet hair. Let the kitty keep something of mine, a blanket or a pillow. She deserves it. Bluest boyo deserves a lot. I think he'd enjoy the DS. Maybe help him get out of the house. I worry. Tell my online friend what happened. And then instructions on how to open line and text. Because that's the app we were using. I'm sure everyone else can figure it out from the news. Just forget about me. I don't need anything else. Go on as if I don't exist, like I never did. LGBT charities preferred. There's a lot of coins strewn about, probably some cash hidden away if it's used on my brother. It's for college, not a mission, please and thanks. Oh, right. And then rub it in this one kid's face, traumatize him. That's the other fucking experience that I had in school that I haven't talked about yet, is I would drive my brother's friends home because I had a car and they were all in the same neighborhood. And so I'd have like him and 2 or 3 other boys in the car, and one of his friends was an absolute fucking dick. He was a military-obsessed little brat, and yeah, it's probably the one you're thinking of. It's that one little shitlord. He just played Call of Duty all day long, and he kept making suicide jokes while I was driving him home. And I asked him one day, I was like, hey, can you please not make, like, suicide jokes? It makes me really uncomfortable. Like, really shy and scared. I wanted to be brave and just be like, hey, don't fucking make suicide jokes. That's an asshole move. But I couldn't, because it was obviously very personal to me, and there was a reason that suicide jokes were bad. And then, the next day, we had gym together. We were in different grades, but gym was a combined class, and he walked up to me, and he looked me straight in the face, and he said, kill yourself. Completely deadpan. And they went, haha, I'm just kidding. And it sucked. What a little bastard. Like, fucking really? There's a reason why I asked you not to make suicide jokes, and your response to that is to tell me point blank, kill yourself and then walk away. He was probably clueless, but he's a fucking cunt. He was an asshole, and he doesn't... I don't know. The, like, thing to do that day was just walk around the track. So I turned on my sad boy music, and I walked around the track and cried, probably. I was always crying. Shed more tears in those years than I will for the rest of my life, I imagine. And I think one of my friends in the class, like, cussed him out. And this was a girl who, like, did not swear. And, like, I heard after, because I was just, like, gone at that point. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go walk around the track and listen to my music, bye! And, like, not engaging, because I couldn't handle it. I just did not want to look at him. And walking around the track, trying not to think, like, he really means it. He really wants you to do that. He's not just joking. He really wants you to kill yourself. And, like, she, like, cussed him out, apparently, and then came and talked to me and was like, are you okay? It's okay. He's just an asshole. Don't listen to him. Nobody wants that. But, yeah, that little shitlord. Yeah. So if I did end up killing myself, I wanted him to fucking hear about it. And be like, oh, no, it's on my fault. Ugh. What are these other ones? I don't think, there wasn't much other text. Like, I know I was in there for longer than those 5 days, but, after the suicide ward, I ended up moving to, a half-in, half-out clinic, where it's called Teen Scope, I think, because I have a folder, wiggle, 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 from a place called Teen Scope, and I think that's what it is. And, yeah. So, I would spend the night, eat breakfast and dinner at my parents' house, and then during, like, school hours, I would go to this program at the hospital where we would do group therapy and we'd have lunch there, and we'd do, like, a physical activity, like, one physical activity every day, and we'd also do schoolwork, and I did, like, some packet work. Thank God. That's the only way I passed math class, is because I got to sit in a classroom with, like, 3 other kids and the teacher, like, a teacher right there, and just sit and do my math homework, and it wasn't as anxiety-provoking as school. And it helped me concentrate, too, because I was, like, at home there's other shit I can do. Here I'm, like, I'm bored and there's nothing else to do. And then I have a little, like, goodbye card, I think, that says, if we did all the things we were capable of, we would astound ourselves, Thomas Edison. I think I talked about this in my other stream, but just a bunch of really nice notes from everybody. Remember to be happy and be yourself. Yeah. And that's... I'm always really grateful for the people who did stand up for me, for the people who cussed out that motherfucker, who were kind to me, to you, Blue Boyo. For always spending time with me and always just being so kind. And so I did that for a while, and I went to a very, very reduced school schedule where I had like 3 classes total. I remember while I was in the war, I thought if I could just get out before self-esteem day, I'll be fine. Because like the other stuff, oh no, he didn't apologize. I never talked to him again. He came to my brother's graduation, and that was a weird emotion to see him again and be like, I don't know if I should share it, but it made me wonder, does my brother know what happened? Because he's still friends with this kid. Does he know what happened? Because if he does, then that sucks. If something similar had happened to my brother, I would have dropped that person immediately. I would have dropped them immediately. And I never asked, because I don't want to confront the reality where my brother knows what happened and is still friends with that kid. I like my brother. He's pretty great. I don't want him to still be friends with the kid who told me to kill myself. And know that that happened and still be friends with him. I really hope he doesn't know. But I don't want to ask him in case he does. So, yeah. Yeah, then I went back to real school, and one of the classes that I was taking was an art class, and on like the last possible day of school, I had to go and turn in an art project because otherwise I would have failed the class, and I had the art project done, but I was too ashamed to turn it in. I had it done. It was ready to go. But I was so, like, ashamed of, like, anything that I created that I was like, I can't turn it in. Are you kidding me? No one can ever see this dumb art project. And I had to turn it in. And, like, it's not about, like, the quality of, like, it was a watercolor class. It was a materials class. It was like, okay, so this week you have to do an art project. You have to use watercolor, and you have to use some salt on the paper because it makes watercolor look cool. And this time we're going to use a pen that doesn't blend with the watercolor, and that's what you have to use. And, you know, like, you just had to do, like, the assignment and, like, include all the things that they wanted you to include, and it was fine, and you passed the assignment. And I finished the assignment, and then I shoved it in my bag and never turned it in until I had to, because otherwise I would have failed the class and subsequently high school. Yeah, and then some other shit happened, and I got a job at a call center, and it was good for me because it was fairly isolationist. Like, you go to your cubicle, you do your work, you ignore everybody else, and you can just do whatever. And that was nice and helped me, like, feel a little better. I went to exactly 1 semester of college where I failed all 3 classes. Oh my god. I took a writing class, didn't turn anything in. I took a hey, nepotism win. You graduated because of nepotism. Winner, winner. I took a writing class, and I took a like introduction to making games class, which I also failed. Because, again, I finished an assignment, and then guess what? I didn't turn in! I never turned it in. I threw it in the trash. And then there was an online class that I was like, I thought it was an in-person class, and then I was like, yeah, this is an online class. And I was like, oh, okay. I'm never finishing that then, because I couldn't handle online classes. So I was like, okay, bye. So then I didn't, like, even participate in that class. I was in it technically, but I never did anything in that class. I read, like, the introduction that was like, yeah, this is online only. And then I was like, oh, I'm failing that class then. Okay. Message received. And then my call center job turned into a shit show. Rest in peace caption call. Grand winner of the biggest fine in the history that the FCC gave out because they were abusing the money that the Federal Communications Commission was giving them to provide phones to deaf people. They were just doing all the shitty stuff that, like, pharmacy reps do, where they
were like throwing lavish parties for doctors and giving them lavish gifts so that they would convince people to get one of their stupid telephones. Ridiculous. Largest fine in FCC history. Let's go. Yeah, that happened like a month or so after I left that happened. It was a shit show before then. It was fine, and then it slowly got worse. Because fucking COVID ruined everything. And then also, they were just being assholes. Yeah, largest fine in history. It was a shit show. They, like, fired all of their managers. And, like, all of the managers... Like, they fired, like, 2 managers in a row, and then, like, 3 of them left voluntarily, so we had, like, 2 managers left, and I was like, oh, something's wrong. Something is deeply wrong here. It sucked. I got out of there, and then I went to a job through a temp agency, and I was like, okay, cool, I have a new job, and I moved out into an apartment for the first time. And then, at 6 a.m., I went into work because it was the holiday season. They were like, okay, you got to come in at 6 of the holiday season. They're like, okay, I'm doing my job. I'm so good. I'm a good worker. And then they said, you shouldn't be here. And I went, what? And they said, you're fired. You don't work here anymore. And I said, what? And they said, you should have received an email. At 9, 6, 7, 8, 9 that morning, I get the email from the temp agency that says you no longer have a position here. Fucking really? So I was just hanging out for like 4 hours, spinning my wheels, waiting, because I was like, I don't know, and I like tried to be like, please, why, what did I do wrong? And they were like, it's out of our hands. And I went home at like lunch, and as I was sitting in my car like crying because I just got fired from my job, and I'm like, I have an apartment, I can't like be fired right now, I just got a new apartment, I have to pay my bills, oh my god. As I was sitting in my car like crying and shit, I was like, it's my birthday. It's my birthday today. I got fired on my birthday. I got fired on my birthday. How dare you? The audacity. The gumption. How rude of them to fire me on my birthday. That's so fucking rude. Yeah, so that sucked. And then luckily I found the job that I'm currently at, which I really love. And I've been getting better since then. I've been improving since then, and it's been pretty great. And I do think I'm only getting better from here. And yeah. I guess I could say more positive stuff, but homophobic TBH, yeah, it was all homophobia motivated. They didn't even know it, but it was. I think I'll stay on for a minute longer as I try and figure out why the fuck chat broke and why it's no longer showing up on my screen, why my widgets are down. And then I'll probably be done for late evening and go wipe up my snotty nose. So I'm gonna step away for like 2 seconds. And BRB. I guess I can put that away now because I'm not really talking about it anymore. No, where is it? There it is. Okay, I'm gonna go. I need a tissue. Okay, blew my nose. Let's try and fix my shit. Wah! Yeah, so I think the important things, I think it's important that we help teens specifically, because I think they kind of have the hardest time right now. And that sucks for them. There's one thing in particular that my mom said that really stood out to me. She said, I didn't understand what was normal teen angst and what was a legitimate problem. And that really struck me because I was like, well, what is normal teen angst? And I don't know if that, like, I think that's kind of a misnomer. Like, obviously I have a very big reason for probably thinking that way, because for me it was not teen angst, it was like imminent suicide. But I don't know. That's something that I still think about a lot of the time, is how do we help teens with this? How do we notice them? How do we give them the help that they need? I don't really know. And I think they definitely need help, because, I mean, to some extent, like, yeah, all teens are gonna have angst, because if you think about it, the experiences that they're having is that's the first time they've ever experienced it. Like, if a teen is, like, going through a breakup and they're like, this is the worst thing that's ever happened to me, adults might look at them and be like, well, it's not that bad, because, you know, I've been broken up with and I got over it and I know you'll get over it. But that's the first time it's ever happened to them. Of course it is going to affect them so deeply. It's the only time they've ever experienced this. They don't know how to deal, and it's awful. And it shouldn't be dismissed just because you would be fine if this happened. That's not okay to ignore that this awful thing is happening to them. It sucks. And they should get some kind of, like, recognition and help. And the fact that they don't is upsetting to me. My nose. I don't understand why chat isn't working either. I'm very upset about it. Yeah, it's not doing it. I don't know why. It was working until fucking earlier. I'm still pink. I want to be green. We just the wrong button. Sorry. Green! Blinding green! I guess it's not doing the thing. Oh god. Oh god. It's horrible. Yeah. You don't, and I mean, even if you, I don't know that processing is even necessarily tied to a specific age. I think it just takes time to process sometimes. There we go. Sometimes it just takes time to process things. Ugh. Yeah. I'm not sure what the chat service I was using. I thought I had it linked somewhere, and now I can't find it. And I'm annoyed. I don't think it's a layering issue. I think it's just like I fucked up and I deleted the URL on accident. And now I don't know what the URL was. No, that's the wrong one. Wow. I'm lost in my bookmarks. I'm sorry I went through some stuff. Nope. Still not working. Wait! Ha! It is there! It's just tiny! Ha ha! 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 But it's very small. God damn it. Does it? Okay, it is transparent though. Alright, well. Yeah! Almost. One minute. I think I can improve it. How do I change the height and the width? Oh, there it is. 600, 700, 800. Tabs. Alright, it's still pretty little, but... It's just like annoyingly long for some reason. It doesn't look that big to you, but it looks huge to me. But whatever. I guess it works. Alright, well. I'm gonna go lay down in my bed and be sad for a little bit. Yep. But hopefully that's working now. I might find something else too. So, thank you very much for... Whoops. listening to me talk at you. I love y'all. I'll be on tomorrow, probably. I don't know if I can handle Sekiro. Maybe not Sekiro tomorrow. Maybe I'll do it in the night time hours. I don't know. I'm gonna do the other game, though, the fucking Last Faith or whatever it's called. I didn't mean to hit that button! Anyways. Yeah, but... well, I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining. I just wanted to go over the whole thing, I guess, because I can. So, see you. Love you so much. Have a great evening. Bye-bye. We'll just let this be the ending song. Why not? I have shared most of the story before because, especially when I was like going into the hospital and going between therapist to therapist, like I got a very condensed version of it down because I had to be like, okay, here's all the things that happened up to this point, and here we are. I'm glad you related. I'm glad it can be helpful. That's the hope, is that there is hope. There's a happy ending. I think, I don't remember where it was from, but I read a quote that was like, people often misunderstand that people who are not brave enough are the ones who don't commit suicide, when really the opposite is true. People who are very, very brave are the ones who don't commit suicide. It takes bravery to not commit to that. Killing yourself is the easy thing. It's the easiest way out. It's the strongest decision. But it's wrong. There's light at the end of the tunnel. There's something waiting for you. All your problems would technically go away if you were dead. But so would all of your joys, all of the bright things. So don't. So don't. Non-existence can also be scary, I guess, but I think... oh, it got so tiny on this screen. Ah, get bigger! It can... it's better to not kill yourself. Yeah. Bye.